So, a question that comes up surprisingly often in Twitch chat is, how would you balance Loki? Now, I feel like balancing Loki is not an easy task. As many of you know, currently Loki is generally considered underpowered when it comes to high levels of play, overpowered when it comes to beginner play, and annoying as hell when it comes to mid-level play, where he can split push and rather not so much focus on succeeding in the fights and kills, but succeeding in split pushing. Now, all of this is kind of intertwined with how Loki's kit currently functions. He has a stealth with damage, a decoy that is primarily focused on clearing waves, a aim strike ability which is just a burst steroid in itself, nothing more, and an escape tool / burst ability with his ultimate. So you've got a decent amount of single target burst in there, which is especially strong against the lower levels. You've got a very safe laning phase in there, thanks to the decoy, which is for the split pushing as well, where you can use the decoy to split push. You can split push waves without being seen and stuff like that. You can rotate out quicker. And then you have not all too much for the highest level of play, because single target damage isn't all that great in a team fight scenario, and you are too easily isolated compared to others, especially if you use your ultimate to engage. So what can be done about it? First of all, it is important to note that it is a very sensitive topic to balance Loki. Loki has a lot of fans by Smite standards. You will see that Smite Loki is actually one of the most searched terms when it comes to Smite, and a lot of haters as well. So if you change this character, you want to make sure not to upset those who already like the character, and don't change too much in that regard that the character feels completely different and possibly make them quit Smite if they play him a lot. But at the same time, you also want to make 100% sure to not make the character even more annoying and frustrating for those who play against him, while making sure that he stays somewhat annoying, because that's just the design of the character. But if we were to make Loki even more annoying, so many people would be way too pissed off about it. So we're in a very tight area in terms of what we can change without upsetting one or the other and losing people due to that change. So what I would propose is not changing all too much at once, not changing all too much about his abilities. There is also the crucial or less crucial part, depending on which perspective you're speaking from, of the lore accuracy. Some people want him to follow a lore where he's more of a trickster, others don't care too much and want to go for the ability burst damage. And, well, the lore is just what's behind it, as it is for most characters, where it doesn't really matter all that much. In the following, I've tried to take all of that into account to greater or less extent, depending on what exactly we're talking about. But I tried to not change too much, tried to not break the character, and try to make it so that he doesn't feel completely different, or that he completely loses the lore aspect that he has. So what I think should stay unchanged are actually 3 abilities. One being the passive behind you. I think that backstab bonus is just a nice thing for an assassin. While it's not very lore accurate and could be changed for something more lore accurate, that's something that I would consider secondary to other things. In the same sense, I would not change aimed strike. I think a single ability amp with a slow is nothing that's too bad in any regard, and it fits the style of an assassin. And I would not change the ultimate. The ultimate being that part where he's a bit of a trickster, where he can teleport away, and the other part being him just dealing immense damage as an assassin would. That leaves us with 2 abilities, Vanish and Decoy. Let's first talk about Vanish a little bit. Vanish is, as it is at the moment, actually pretty stupid. If you read the ability description, there are so many different things in this ability. It has damage per tick with a damage duration, a stealth duration, stealth movement speed. It has a cooldown of 15 seconds with so much mana cost, and he also is immune to slows. So what? Even reading all that out, you forget half of it while going through it. So that, I feel, is way too bloated. What I would do with this ability is just remove the damage from it entirely. Make it a stealth for 4 seconds that can still not be revealed in any way other than having dot damage tick up. Give him the stealth movement speed, give him the slow removal for all I care, and give him the same cooldown and same mana cost. Maybe, this is coming to the second ability later, maybe give him some more potential in stealth. I know you're gonna think I'm crazy, but hear me out, wait out. We're gonna get to the other ability and then it makes more sense. You could, for example, consider giving him a brief period at the beginning of the ability where he would not teleport or jump or anything, but would still be able to go through walls. I mean, this is a mechanic that isn't there yet and that could easily break things, but I think it would be kind of cool. Just allow him to go through any wall on the map for just a very brief period, basically meaning he has to stand next to the wall. He can only do that for the first 2 seconds. Afterwards, he gets pushed out automatically, like Jingwei would if she tries to land somewhere she can't land. And then after that, it returns to being normal stealth. That would mean that he's extremely freaking hard to catch at the beginning of his stealth. You would not know where he's going. You would have to be very wary where he could be going, because he could either take a normal path or he could just go straight through the wall and be somewhere else. And chasing Loki would be even harder than now. It would probably be around the same level as chasing a Circuit then. So I don't really see a problem with it, given there's another character that's also already stupidly hard to chase. And that brings us to the 2. 2 is currently decoy. And a lot of people actually want decoy to detonate on command. So basically you place down your decoy and then you use the ability again and you can detonate it whenever. I completely disagree. Loki has enough burst as it is. If you were able to do that, you would have even more burst, and Loki would have stupid burst against a single target. Would gain a fuck ton of viability in every regard. I just don't see that being a logical step. You would actually just max the decoy first as usual, but then all of a sudden be able to use it as poke as well, which is just crazy and doesn't make any sense. I think the decoy as a whole is a very odd ability on an assassin. It does allow for way more lane clear than the average assassin has. It does not allow for good jungle clear, because then you have to level this in order to clear and you have less aggression against other targets. And all in all, it's just something I've never really grown fond of. The only thing that's cool about it is that it has a certain amount of lore accuracy, though it's not even that much, but a little bit at least. So what I propose is remove the decoy. I don't feel like there are too many people that are actually all too fond of the decoy. I don't think there are too many people that really think that the decoy is the important part of Loki being Loki. The ones who want to burst will still burst. The ones who want to jungle him will have better options when we're talking about what we do instead. So what I would propose is, instead of the decoy, give him an ability that has an area of effect on a lower cooldown than the decoy. And this area of effect should be relatively small. It should be around the size that it could hit a buff camp with the 2 small minions and the big one. So maybe the same radius as a leap would have usually, like a Hunbat sleep or something like that. And this AoE effect then deals poison damage, maybe the same value as on Vanish, maybe a little more actually. I wouldn't do the exact numbers here, but just giving you the idea of how it would function. So an AoE ability which poisons enemies around him, gives him a basic attack reset at the same time, and therefore allowing him to clear camps better, and allowing him to still have the same damage in a 1v1 potential as he has now. Take him out of the solo lane into the jungle, where you would think he would be supposed to be, or out of lanes in general and into the jungle, and still remaining with the same play style. Now, in order to keep up the trickster image and not just make it a lame, poison dagger thing, you could do something with his snake form. Now, as you know, Loki slithers away as a snake whenever he dies. It's a lore thing as well, like many other things. And you could turn him into a snake for the time of this ability. We know that you can also turn into a horse. You could also have him turn into a horse for a second to stomp the enemies and make them bleed or whatever. Something like that. Just anything that would be logical, and also logical in terms of giving damage over time to enemies. Maybe this ability could even have some initial damage and then the damage over time would be lowered. But either way, you get the idea here. Remove the one's damage, make it a pure stealth escape ability, give it some more potential in one way or the other, and remove the decoy and give him an AoE dot instead, so that he is placed in other roles. He is not as frustrating to play against, but still frustrating enough because you don't want to get hit by an AoE dot by mispositioning yourself and stuff like that. For example, imagine that in combination with an Ares. All of a sudden, Loki would have a lot of potential in such situations, and I think that would really put him in a much more interesting place. With that, let me know what you think in the comments down below. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with this. A lot of Loki players have specific expectations about what they want to see. That's totally fine. This is just my take on it as somebody who'd love to see Loki in the jungle more, while also wanting to give him some more viability on higher levels of play. I think it could maybe break the character a little bit for at least a while until the numbers are adjusted, but keep in mind that mostly a kit is not the thing that breaks a character, it's the wrongly applied numbers to certain abilities that are, as you can see, for example, with Fafnir. With that, thank you guys for watching. A new video tomorrow. Duke Sloth, out.